Trade rumors galore for the Nuggets. We're going to break them all down. Ryan Blackbird thinks he has figured it all out, and it's all going to be great. I'm a little bit more skeptical. We'll give you what we know from the inside. We'll give you what we think from the outside. All that and more on the trade mania and the Denver Nuggets on this edition of Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day, being with us Monday through Friday, being an everydayer, as we like to call it here, and hanging out with us all throughout the week during both our daily shows and our post-game shows and our bonus episodes. All sorts of content for you here on Locked On Nuggets, whether you're enjoying us on the podcast form, where we'd love a 5-star review, or if you're catching us on YouTube at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Join the revolution. We are on our way towards 9,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the season. We think we can get there, but we need your help. So go ahead and go there and do that. Our newsletter is awesome. Ryan and I put a lot of work into it. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. I put in like my 10 things to kind of know from the Kings game, broke all that down. From home games, you get stuff like quotes that nobody else has. We do like stuff that you're going to want to know from shows that you might have missed. All sorts of great stuff. You get great writing from Mike Shearer of Basketball Poetry, who's awesome, and Katie Heindel of Basketball Feeling. She's awesome. Katie's great. You'll really get something out of it if you're a basketball fan, especially if you're a Nuggets fan. Go to LockedOnDaily.com. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. This show is called No Jinx because Ryan and I have a bad habit of always saying the Nuggets are completely out of options right before they turn things around, and that's why we call it No Jinx.
Yes, sir.
On today's show, we're just going to talk trades because there's like a lot of trade rumors that burst out on the scene from an Athletic report on Tuesday night during the NBA Cup. There was a follow-up report about another one. There's all sorts of stuff to get to. We'll tell you what we know, we don't know, what we think. We'll start here. The Athletic, it's Tony Jones, good friend of mine, Sam Amick, a really good friend of mine.
Yep.
Those two reported the following. As a result, the Nuggets have either expressed interest in or have had preliminary trade discussions on the following players: Chicago's Zach LaVine, Washington's Jordan Poole, Utah's Jordan Clarkson, Atlanta's DeAndre Hunter, Brooklyn's Cam Johnson, and Washington's Jonas Valanciunas. That's followed up by a report from Ian Begley, longtime Knicks reporter, who says, I've heard Brandon Ingram is another player among the group on their radar. Both of those have indicated, and this is like one of the things that just kind of happens, is like when everybody outside is like starts to pay attention to a situation, they're like, and you won't know this, but Michael Porter Jr. could be traded. While like our show has been like, yeah, no, if they're making a deal, it's almost definitely going to be Mike. Like It almost has to be because they have no other options. It's the only trade asset that they have. Like we've talked about that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And we've argued about whether or not that's doable. And I continue to say that's going to be an issue, but we'll start here, Ryan.
Yeah.
Because the top of the list is Zach LaVine, who plays for the Chicago Bulls, whose general manager is Arturas Karnisovas, who used to work in Denver.
Yes,
so you've got a pre-existing relationship. Arturas is going to know and be comfortable with Mike's medicals, so that helps grease the wheels considerably for getting a deal done. There's a lot more trust there, at least on this issue, between those two sides, rather than potentially a different type of deal. So the question comes back to Zach LaVine, and you have a very strong take.
I do have a very strong take, and Zach LaVine reminds me of Aaron Gordon in a lot of different ways, where on an Eastern Conference team, a subpar team for a long time, in a very averse situation where the actual value of the player is sort of being misconstrued with the situation and how it has been in that way for a long time. Now, it is not just Chicago's fault. Zach LaVine's been hurt. Zach LaVine has not always put in the most effort on the defensive end. He can take some bad shots. He can do some things that rub you the wrong way as a fan. But in general, I think he's one of those guys that is supremely talented. that is a very, very high level basketball talent, scorer off the dribble, athletic, physical in the way that he can get downhill off of the dribble, can do a lot of different things on the wing, and is somebody that has never really been in a great situation for him offensively. I think that there are some really interesting fits that he could have in Denver, where playing with a guy like Nikola Jokic, somebody who is extremely gifted at getting guys going, putting them into positions to succeed, running the two-man game. Don't you think Zach LaVine would be really good in the two-man game next to Nikola Jokic? I think he would. And I think that there are folks out there that don't necessarily think that he could translate to a team like the Nuggets, that they don't necessarily have the best situation for him. I tend to think that's wrong. I tend to think that he would be great here, and the Nuggets would be more successful with him on the roster.
Not only that, but you think that this deal is not just a good deal, but you think it's going to happen.
I do think it's going to happen. That's not sourced. Let me just say that. This is me connecting the dots more than anything. Although I have heard, obviously, and there have been reports that the Nuggets have had interest in Zach LaVine for a long time. And let me just kind of circle back to this. Calvin Booth has never been quiet about when he wants somebody. The information often seems to get out there, Matt. It seems to get out there on a pretty consistent basis. Think about Deron Holmes as one example of that, where it's just no secret that what he wants to happen, he's not necessarily going to, he's going to telegraph it a little bit. I think that this is a situation where the Nuggets have put out there that they are interested in Zach LaVine. They would want Zach LaVine, and they would be they'd be fascinated about the idea of bringing in Zach LaVine to make this happen. And I think that as long as they could come up with the right assets, the right pieces to sort of facilitate the deal to be happening, I think that there's a very good chance that this gets done.
I disagree entirely on the idea that the Nuggets were the ones that put this out. Entirely. This is most often related to other GMs, one circling the, it's vultures circling because they know that Denver's desperate. Yeah. And you apply pressure by being like, they're looking at all these guys. Are you going to make a trade? 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 And everybody likes to chat. And there's certain connections I can make between the reporters in question. They've not told me this. I haven't texted or talked to Sam or Tony since they published the story, but there's stuff that makes sense if you just connect a little bit. And I just don't think, I think the idea that the Nuggets put this out, I think the Nuggets were probably consulted and confirmed on these. I think they probably were like, yeah, we've had these conversations.
I mean, I doubt that they were the ones to put it out, Matt. That's not necessarily what I'm saying here. I'm just saying that it's not like Calvin has hid his desires for certain players, and then other GMs tell reporters, okay, they like Deron Holmes, they like X, Y, and Z. They're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. That has happened for Denver for a long time. So it just wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay. So Ryan's on record that it's going to happen and it's going to be great.
Okay. No.
What?
Okay. You can't just say you can't say I'm going to say it's going to happen. I think it's a strong possibility that it will happen. I told you in confidence, I think it's 55-45. That's
is
what
it
I
likely?
Said.
I'll ask this. Is it more likely to happen than not?
Okay. Now you're putting me on the spot here. No trade is ever more likely to happen than not. That is, okay. It's never more likely to happen than not. However, if there was one where Denver, and I've talked to you about this, a distressed asset, somebody where you have to take a chance on somebody, you have to put yourself into a vulnerable position. I think that this makes sense.
I agree. I am just trying to clarify your position on this take that you have a very strong take on.
Yeah.
So that's okay if you want to say no trade is more, if you want to be it could happen, it's possible, it's more likely than others. I just want to get because Mike on the other side, I'll tell you why I'm a little bit more I don't know, we'll see. I'm not I don't think you should start printing the jerseys yet. And there's other names to talk about, including one that oh boy does that it would change a lot. We'll talk about Brandon Ingram and plus the other names on the list up next here on Locked On Nuggets. This show is brought to you by Game Time. I got a notification from Game Time that there's great Avs tickets to be had. So I went ahead and flipped it open, went to Game Time picks and checked it out. And there's all sorts of great tickets that you can find on the Avalanche. You can get all sorts of great tickets for that. You can get tickets for all the holiday concerts. You can get comedy. There's so many great comedy shows coming through that you can check out. Make sure that you check out Game Time, not just for sporting events like the Nuggets and the Avalanche and the Rockies in the spring, but also for comedy and theater and more. You can get all sorts of tickets with Game Time. They've got the lowest price guarantee. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a better deal. Get a panoramic view from your seat. It's really great. So you make sure that you know what you're getting when you go to the show. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Ryan?
It's game time.
We're also brought to you today by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is phenomenal. I've been telling you about how it's helped me. This is not just me reading an ad copy. I'm telling you, I seriously did go on Rocket Money, sign up, and have them start negotiating my bills down and canceling subscriptions that I didn't want anymore. There's a lot of subscriptions that I honestly had a hard time getting through their customer service department, and Rocket Money took care of it. I was really impressed with it. So one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I used the cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've saved a ton. I think I saved like $180 a year in like the first, I don't know, day and a half I started using Rocket Money. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. No more stressing about budgeting each month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. So I want to present my response to all of the stuff that Ryan said. Ryan was right about Aaron Gordon. Ryan is correct that Zach LaVine is an absolutely incredible performer and player. He's really good. I've loved Zach for a long time. I loved his early Chicago game. My entire thing was Zach LaVine was on track to be an All-NBA player, and then DeMar DeRozan showed up.
Yeah,
that's been my entire thing. And there's reason to believe that Zach can kind of translate and do these things. He's also shown himself to be malleable and that they want him to take more threes, so he took more threes. And I like any player that will listen and be coachable in those instances. And this could be a thing where Zach's been in the league a while, and he went through this entire trade ordeal where he was untradeable and was the worst asset in the league, and getting a chance to play with Nikola Jokic and compete for a title with a motivated Zach LaVine could be the absolute perfect fit. Here's what I'll tell you about what I know about the negotiations. Those negotiations, according to a source, were within the last several weeks. So this is not something that was 6 months ago. These are more recent conversations. The words that were used to me were not sure it's plausible. So this did not reach a structure of a framework. It didn't reach going to ownership to weigh in about whether they're down with that move initially. There's there's none of that. It is just they talked about it and weighed interest, and they'll circle back around later. That's the way that it's going to be with all of these things. The Nuggets have absolutely been making calls, but I will also again say that I do think that they've known that they need to solve some of the internal stuff. I think maybe they feel like they have, that this 3-game winning streak is proof that they've gotten through the worst of it and the team is starting to come together. And if that's the case, all right, now we can go address the roster. I will just say this. I am categorically against any 1-for-1 trade. Okay. I'm categorically against it. It doesn't solve your problem. Swapping out parts on the best starting lineup in basketball doesn't fix you anything. It doesn't fix anything. You don't need one more guy. You need 3 more guys. That's the entire problem, is that you can't put together lineups to counter what's on the floor. Oh, we don't have enough shooting in this game. I wish we had another shooter. Oh, we don't have enough ball handling. I wish we had more ball handling. Zach LaVine can shoot and Zach LaVine can ball handle. So that's a pretty good solution there, but you're taking away the defense. Wish we had another defender. We don't have that. If you are not doing a multiplayer deal, and Zach LaVine is a negative defender, and the combination of him, Jamal Murray, I feel very strongly would be worse than the combination of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. based simply on size. And that's a huge, I don't worry. The offense still kicks ass. This is just not the problem. You need depth and you need versatility, and you can stagger Zach LaVine, Ryan, and I get it. it's not enough of a solution. You need multiple pieces in order for this to work.
I don't know. So I think obviously that's a great point. And Denver's rotation is not like, it is not chock full of talent. Like that is very clear. There's more that needs to happen than just a Zach LaVine for Michael Porter trade. That would not be my solve. I'm not predicting the Nuggets win the title after that. I'm not predicting the Nuggets win the title if they don't do that. I think that at this point, though, you might be able to build a little bit more non-Jokic minutes, like, because I think that is the weakness of the team, right? It's not the starter minutes. Obviously, this doesn't make the starter minutes better, I don't think, although it might make them a little bit more versatile in the playoffs. It makes them, I think this allows for guys like Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, even maybe like Julian Strawther. I'm not sure if he would be involved, but I think it allows them a little bit more freedom and flexibility in those 3-4 minutes where Michael Malone when he gets to the playoffs, he's just going to play those guys like MPJ and Aaron Gordon 35 to 40 minutes. And he's probably rightly so to do that. I think with LaVine, you can get guys like Peyton Watson into better positions on the floor. You can get guys like Christian Brown on better positions on the floor where he's a tertiary ball handler and not the secondary ball handler in the lineup. And there are some more things you can do. And I think Russell Westbrook honestly fits into that pretty well too. Like he would set up LaVine extremely well as a secondary guy. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's solving everything. They still need a backup center. But if they got a backup center and they got LaVine and they maybe signed like, I don't know, the equivalent of Jay Crowder for the forward rotation, I don't think you're that far off.
Yeah, create the roster spot though, and that's a challenge. If they were expanded,
if you're combining multiple contracts, which you'd have to with LaVine, you're sending out at least 2 guys in order to get one there. So that's one way to do it.
Swipa is going to yell when the next time he's on. He's going to yell about Io DeSumnu until none of you can hear anymore. And that might honestly be doable if you get Zach and Io. I feel like you've got a glut because it's like Jamal and LaVine and Russ and Io and Julian, like and Christian. Like you're just like,
actually, I think you probably have to trade one of Christian or Julian in order to even get into that conversation. Right. So that's one way to
now. I will just say that I would be willing to give up several of those players in order to get Jalen Smith. I don't know if the Bulls will be willing to move on for him, but I will just tell you, like, no one understands how good Jalen Smith is. Like, no one understands how good Jalen Smith is and how much of a perfect rim runner with that second unit he would be. Like, Jalen Smith is like, hey, what if we took Zeke and made him bigger and good? And like, as an example, on the Chicago Bulls, there's actually a number of players who have a positive net rating, but Jalen Smith is a plus 2.3. And that's pretty impressive. By the way, another good get that you can get from them is Talen Horton Tucker. Let people talk about. I'm telling you, go watch you got to go watch him, Ryan. He's so much better this year. He's so physical. He's gotten better every single year, and he's a really good vet now. Like, just like a solid all around vet. It's an upgrade over what they have. Like, it just is.
I mean, I'll have to watch. I'll have to watch a little bit. They're more likely to get back Torrey Craig, by the way.
Yeah, which would be funny. Welcome back, Torrey. What's up about Brandon Ingram? So Ingram, there was even more skepticism about, like, it was talked about. But the words I heard were not seriously. Like, this wasn't like there was nothing serious about the Ingram front. Maybe they circle back and there's something a little bit that happens a little bit more. That's look, I don't want to say a hard no, because then it's like he just traded here and I have to deal with it. I do not feel he fits nearly anything about who Denver is.
Yeah.
That said, there's been like cases of a lot of guys who were different in other situations and came here. Some would have been like, well, about Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon was never like, that's not like, knowing Aaron now, like, that's never who Aaron was. It just like, that's not like, they are not comparable. Brandon Ingram and Aaron Gordon do not think of themselves in the same kind of context. What are your thoughts on Brandon Ingram?
Oh, I'm just thinking about it from New Orleans' perspective. Can you imagine Michael Porter and Trey Murphy like on the same team? they're the same person. They're the same player. Like I don't think
They
that's
would play him at 4, so their wings would be.
Is Zion just not in the picture anymore?
No, he's not. So it's like
Hmm.
Herb 2, Trey 3, MPJ 4.
I mean, that doesn't suck. DeJounte at the 1, CJ coming off the bench. I don't hate it, obviously. Like, I mean, hey, do you want to trade Mike for Zion? Make him be the 6th man?
Yeah. I mean, look, Zion's one of the most explosive athletes you're ever going to see, but he just can't stay on the floor. If you could tell me that you're going to get 55 plus games of Zion for 3 seasons, I would absolutely take that.
That's the kind of swings that Denver should be talking about. Like, to me, that's like, there's a couple of ways that you can go with trading MPJ specifically. One of them's the kind of 1-for-1 deal for LaVine. One of them is taking a chance on somebody like a Zion. And the other is what you like, which is kind of breaking up his salary into a couple of different players and making that make more sense. Just the bottom line, though, is that I would not want Brandon Ingram on this roster. That would not make sense to me. I just don't believe in the concept of Brandon Ingram on the Nuggets.
Okay. Up next, we'll talk about Cam Thomas. We'll talk about Jonas Valanciunas, which I actually think is a pretty interesting name. We'll talk about Jordan Poole, which is also interesting. We'll talk about all these guys and more, as well as the reality of some of this stuff on the other side here on Locked On Nuggets. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. I bet Giannis Antetokounmpo for Cup MVP at 17-1. And so that was a very nice Tuesday night for me.
Nice.
I also bet Steph Curry and Anthony Davis. So
not so nice.
But I did have Shea at the end too at 450, so that was good. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play data, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Today's episode is also sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. You can redeem your points for flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Final segment here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Wednesday. No jinx, because we always jinx Nuggets, and that's why we call it No Jinx. Our guy Nick Angstadt, who runs Locked On NBA, was like, "Why do you call it No Jinx?" And I was like, "Because we always jinx them." And he was like, "You should explain that. Nobody knows." I was like, fair enough.
We don't want to explain it on every episode. Like, just subscribe, and then you'll know.
Let's rank these 3 guys.
Okay:
Jordan Poole, Jordan Clarkson, Jonas Valanciunas.
Oh my god! So the interesting, you got to always do it up against the salary that they have. And what you would have to send out. Matt, Jordan Poole, they would have to send out Michael Porter for. Like, that's the price of business. So he automatically goes to 3 in that regard. Jordan Clarkson, Jonas Valanciunas, which one of those guys is more likely to be an impact player in the playoffs? I'm not really sure if I have a great answer for that. Can they both be ranked 2 and I leave 1 vacant?
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Which one would you hate watching more? Like a Russell Westbrook with this player lineup, which one drives you the most nuts?
Ooh, I think I could. Okay, so the hooper in me, because I'm a hooper, definitely can see Russell Westbrook and Jordan Clarkson playing together, where Russ is driving on the wing, and then he swings it over to Jordan Clarkson, who then takes advantage of the extra attention that Russ gets off the drive, and then can either shoot or pass or dribble and can create something else. Having guys that can create their own shot is very important. I just think that Jonas Valanciunas is a better basketball player, though. So I think that he would probably be the better fit, which means I'd probably hate the Jordan Clarkson one more because I hate the 2 for 10 games.
Okay, so here is where I want to talk about some of the dynamics of trade talks.
Okay.
Oftentimes what gets leaked is a player that they talk about because one side is judging the value of the other guys in order for them to come back in later and try and get that guy. And so what I mean by that, like the Wizards could very well come back around and be like, hey, instead of like this summer could come back around and be like, hey, instead of Michael Porter Jr., what about Aaron Gordon? Or Jamal Murray, conceivably. From the Nuggets side now, there's 2 names that I would tell you to keep an eye on, this is speculative. And that's Malcolm Brogdon, Saddiq Bey, and I would actually throw in there Marvin Bagley as a throw-in. So have you watched much of Marvin Bagley?
Yeah, unfortunately I have.
Why?
Because Matt, he cannot defend a chair. It does not work. He doesn't do it, man. It's just.
Or are you basing this off of the Nuggets games?
No. Like
okay. He has the 3rd best net rating on court of any of the Wizards. He had the 2nd best on court of any of the Pistons the year before.
I don't know why. It's because he doesn't play with Alex Sarr.
I wholeheartedly will tell you that genuinely Marvin Bagley is actually sneakily not good, but very serviceable and actually not decent. And the idea of him not being able to guard a chair, I think is flat out wrong. I have no idea where you're getting that idea from.
Has he evolved? Look, I haven't spent a whole bunch of time watching the Wizards this year.
I very sadly have.
You are a freaking sicko. That is
so what I'm telling you is like there are these guys, but these are the guys that you want, like these guys. Like, and you can get like 6, you can get so many of them.
You know who you are? You are Billy Bean in Moneyball, where you're trying to recreate Giambi. You're trying to recreate him. You can't replace him, Matt.
Yes.
You have to recreate him, and you've got to get guys that get on base. And that is who these guys are. These are your get on base guys. These are your guys who find a way to create value. They're just not valuable themselves.
Exactly. That's actually exactly true. You want to know why I care about that? Because I care about winning your minutes. Now, Zach LaVine wins his minutes. He's 0.8 this season with the Bulls. And that's not ever like these numbers aren't everything to me.
That's pretty impressive on the Bulls.
It's actually surprisingly not. That's what's really they're fascinating, Ryan, in that like if you look at the Bulls, it's basically like their lineups are either incredible or the worst lineup you have ever seen. So, like with players with serious minutes, with Lonzo on the court, they're plus 5.4. With Talen Horton-Tucker on the court, they're plus 3.4. Jalen Smith plus 2.3. Modest plus 2.1. LaVine plus 0.8. With Dalen Terry on the floor, they're minus 11. With Patrick Williams minus 8 and with Io minus 7.
You should go look at the cleaning the glass numbers. They're even more stark than this.
Yeah.
They say that with Zach LaVine, it's a plus 7.6 on the floor this year. And then
I think that's on off. That's
on off. My mistake. Like they're 7.6 points more with LaVine. So like they're playing better minutes with those guys out there, and especially with Lonzo out there. He's just a smart player. That's not a surprise to me at all.
Yeah. So like again, this is not like a Zach is an empty stats guy. Like I think Zach can help you win. Like I can see this working. I'm not like wholeheartedly anti LaVine. I think it's going to be very difficult because I do think that people are noticing like, oh, LaVine looks like good again, and there's going to be more offers. But I also, I understand if you're a Nuggets fan, you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Ryan's trying to sell me on getting Zach LaVine, and you're trying to sell me on getting Malcolm Brogdon and Marvin Bagley. Like, I get it, right? And there'd be other, I think, elements in that deal, in particular, moving off of Zeke's money. Like, you need to understand one of the biggest priorities here has to be to include Najee in this deal. To get
every single dollar that you have, if you're the Nuggets, it has to be going towards winning a championship. That's where it has to be.
Okay. I agree in one end. The deal has to try and help you win a championship. But the other thing that it has to do, Ryan, is it has to give you in position to where you can make other moves later to help you win a championship.
Right. And like,
so
that's what I'm saying is that when with Zeke's money on the table, like with it in there, like they just can't, like that is, it's preventing them from doing the championship thing.
So if you turn LaVine and Porter's contracts into a bunch of smaller contracts that will help you win now and help you, and that you can trade later, that's like the ideal here. Because the big thing is I will also say this, you better get back tradable assets.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like,
because you're giving up a first here, and it's going to be the last one you're going to be able to deal for like another 2 years. So
you might be losing too much talent. And that's where we're going to divert a little bit. And you've come up with a great idea in part with the DeAndre Hunter rumor here that makes a lot of sense to me. You want to tell people about that?
So I've been on this one for a while. So not everyone, if you don't know, I think this is the sickos know this, but if you don't know, Trae Young and MPJ are like best of buds. They are very close friends. And so that relationship makes a lot of sense. Now that made more sense when I think that Trae was a little bit more tied to the team's future. The Atlanta front office, by the way, is a mess, and it's going to continue to be a mess. And there's going to be like a lot of confusion. Everyone I talk to is like, no, it's this guy that's in charge. And I'm like, but this other guy said this guy. And they're like, no, it's this guy. I'm like, I don't know who. There's like 17 people that I've been told that about. But the Hawks have two things going on simultaneously. One, Jalen Johnson has evolved and is probably, in my opinion, he's their best player. I think it's not that I don't think Trae's good. I just think Jalen Johnson is legitimately their best player. And Dyson's evolution matters here too. Now they're winning with Trae, not winning. They're staying above water with Trae, Dyson, and Jalen. But with Jalen evolving into that power forward spot, that means that Onyeka Okongwu is no longer as valuable. If they move Clint Capella, they'll move Okongwu into the starting five as a small ball. But I think that they tried that a little bit last year and were like, I don't know if this is actually going to work as a starter. So if you're able to go to the Hawks and be like, hey, we'll give you Michael Porter Jr. and Zeke Naji, but we want DeAndre Hunter, Onyeka Okongwu, and insert. And every single itch listening right now is going to string Bogdanovich. And the problem is like, he's too good. Like if they give that to you, you say yes immediately. Like if you call and they're like, yeah, we're willing to go ahead and move on from Bogdanovich. If you want to give us Zeke Naji, Michael Porter Jr. in a first, we'll give you Bogdanovich, DeAndre Hunter, and Onyeka Okongwu. You run. Like you make sure they don't get off the phone while you call it in.
Yeah, it's tough to make the money work on that. I'm looking at it here. The formula for that deal would be Mike, Zeke, Dario, and Julian Strawther for those three guys. Bogdan, Onyeka Okongwu, DeAndre Hunter, and then you probably throw in a first round pick in order to facilitate it. But like the thought is there, Matt, that you turn like Michael Porter and Julian Strawther, who are two rotation players, into three really solid rotation players and probably like two guys that you're definitely going to trust more than Julian. I like the idea. I think that might be the winner in terms of the best trade for the Nuggets future, like present and future. It's just like you said, it's just really hard to do it. I can see Atlanta saying, yeah, you know what? We could take Julian Strawther and Michael Porter and surround Trae Young and Jalen Johnson with some shooting. Like makes a lot of sense to them. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I think that deal is it's so close. So Porter, Zeke, and Blatko for Hunter, Okongwu, and Larry Nance Jr. is 65,000 short of requirement. That's how close we get. So it's like you're right there. Like you're right there.
Throw in Tyson or Pickett too.
I also wonder if you can do something like and just accept that you're not going to get like Larry Nance. Actually, this one works. Porter, Zeke, and Vlatko for DeAndre, Onyeka, and Kobe Buffkin works.
Onyeka and Kobe Buffkin. Buffkin is like, I mean, he's still somebody that they're going to want to hold on to. They don't have a backup point guard without him.
And they have Dyson Daniels. So
yeah,
I mean, backup point.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, and maybe Buffkin is like off the table completely. That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
For them, I'm not going to say that it's not. But I do think like you're right that there's probably like a framework here that probably works. They've also got a Zeller hanging around. Why don't they just go get?
You could either have a Zeller or a Plumlee.
Plumlee, Zeller or Plumlee.
It's a requirement. You have to have one.
Your hero.
No, this is the one. Like if I as much as I would want LaVine, just for selfish reasons to be said that I'm right.
Yeah,
I do think that this is the one that makes the most sense for the team.
And I want to be clear, like, I've battled you on the show, but like, I also think it's entirely possible Ryan's right, and that Zach LaVine does get traded here, and it does like change everything because Zach is an incredible talent. One of the things I want to kind of circle back on this to close. Jamal's best talent is his ability to hit incredibly tough shots.
Yeah.
Zach's best ability is his ability to create incredibly easy ones. Because of his athleticism, burst, and skill set. Like, there are times when you're just like, Zach scores 30 and it doesn't look like he's breaking a sweat. Like, he is an electric scorer. He is incredible. Now, whether he can adapt to working around Jokic is a different question. I never know these things.
And Murray, for that matter, because the dynamic there is that those three have to find a way to blend it and make it work. And you're sitting here feeling like, do they really have to, like, they should probably shift Murray over to the side. And like, I understand. I get it. But like, that is 9 to 10 years of hardwiring that you got to work through.
Well, and the other thing I would say is I think that something to consider here is this can create tension.
Yeah.
If Murray feels like he's being replaced, that can get bad. So you got to get everybody on the same page. And I think Murray would probably be professional about it and be like, whatever helps us win. I just want to win. But we'll see how it goes. All right. Swipe it. We'll talk more about this with Ryan on Thursday's show. If something happens, we'll do an emergency episode. I'm not expecting anything in the next 24 hours to 2 weeks at all. But been wrong before. And then we'll talk. Swipe and I will go more about it on Friday, and I'll try and get him prepared for a life without Io DeSumnu. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys have a great Wednesday. We'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets.